All right, I started the recording. I will share my screen now. All right. So thank you for joining the today's class by Raj Informatica Technologies. So first of all, before starting our first class, today is our first class, right? So let me introduce myself. I am Abhishek Agrawal. I have total 8 years of IT experience. I have done my graduation in 2016. I will be your trainer for the complete training. And currently, I have done like many data migration projects, 7 to 8 data migration projects using Data Factory, Databricks, Azure Synapse Analytics, PySpark, Spark SQL. I have trained many people, and what I do is I train what I have done in my company, right? That is what I train. So during the training, we will be doing projects, what I have done in my companies, and then we will learn from them, right? So this is about me. Coming back to the agenda of the today's class, what we will be learning today, right? So today is our first class. So first of all, we'll understand what what we will focus on, right? What is data engineering? And probably it is already I have explained this in the demo, but let's understand. So some people are here who haven't attended the demo. So for them, it will be beneficial. So let's understand what particularly is data engineering so that you are focused. You are not learning what is not required, right? So we are focused. We'll focus on that first, right? What is data engineering? And then we will learn about what is ELT and ETL. What is ELT and ETL? Just a rough idea about it so that the basic agenda is clear what to learn, right? And then we'll focus on, like, I will explain you first project, what we will be doing in this particular as a part of a training, right? That I will understand first. I will explain first. So as a part of a training, I guess each one of you has this particular course curriculum, right? So we'll learn this, what is Azure basics, we'll learn this, we will learn about the fundamental, we'll learn about data factory component, we'll learn about data loading, we'll learn about pipeline monitoring, DevOps, Key Vault, data modeling, we'll learn about Logic App, we will learn about all of this. But the basic agenda of learning all of this is to do this particular project, right? Migrating data from MS SQL Server to the cloud. This is the basic agenda for learning all of this, right? So it's very, very important to understand what is this project so that it's very clear for us for coming classes what we will do, what we will learn. This is very, very clear, right? So I will give you the overview of this project, right? After I do this, I will stop and then you can ask question about the project and then about the ELT and ETL. So I will stop in between couple of minutes and then you guys can anyways ask question, right? So the agenda of the today's class is to first understand what is data engineering and what is ELT and ETL, and then Q&A. Will keep some Q&A session and then you guys can ask question Q&A. And then I will go through the project detail and then we'll have a Q&A session again. And then in the project, we are using different tools, right? So I will try to explain different tools, what is Data Factory, Databricks, and all of that. And then we will have a Q&A session if time left, right? So this is what we will understand. So after the today's class, what you can take into account is you understood what we will learn during the course and what will be the coming agenda for the coming classes. That should be very, very clear, right? So that is what we'll learn today. Okay. And in between the demo, if you have any question, you can anyways type in the chat and then you can clarify that question, right? So introduction is completed. I have anyways introduced myself. You guys probably know me already, right? So let's understand now what is data engineering, right? What is data engineering? Because sometimes there's a confusion whenever you are enrolling for any course, right? You are still confused that in this particular data engineering, should I learn Power BI as well, or like I should learn suppose ML modeling, I should learn this and that. So this is very, very like confusing, right? So you should understand what is data engineering is first. So let me explain that what is data engineering, right? So I will open a slide for it. All right. So I will give a very simple example. So suppose I will consider that nobody here knows about uh, you are not from non a technical background, right? I am considering that. So I will explain in that particular manner that I will consider that you don't have any technical background. You have zero technical knowledge, right? I will explain in that front. So suppose I have a requirement that I want to move my data from my computer. Suppose I have opened a like I have a grocery store. I have opened a grocery store in Bangalore, for example. And in that particular, like I have 10 retail stores in Bangalore, right? Then what I want to migrate, like now I have 10 retail store in Bangalore at different places. One is at Balandur, one is at Whitefield. I have like one is at particular uh, uh, BTM layout. I have many like stores everywhere in the Bangalore, right? Now, as a particular owner of all the retail store, what I want, all the guys. So I have 10 guys who is handling this data, is storing the data in the computer, right? So what I want from them is I want to understand what is the sales happening daily, which particular store having most of the sales, which particular product is getting sold more, right? Is it a shop, is it a shampoo, or is it like what is that product which is getting most of the sales, right? That I want to understand. So this is my requirement, basic requirement. But my basic requirement is I want to understand the sales happening daily. So there are two solutions. Okay, there are two solutions what you can do. So either all of the employees which is present in the store can either upload the data daily somewhere in the drive, and daily in the night I basically go collate that, understand it, right? And it's very difficult. Suppose Nihal or Rohan are the like they are the owners, for example, right? So for them it's very difficult to, once they store they close the store daily, they need to upload, right? It's also a manual effort daily. What they still want, they can just leave their computer like opened, and then internet is running, and then automatically everything happening, right? Automatically, I also don't need to call it, everything happens automatically. How we can do that? Okay, so I contacted few of the data engineers, and I thought of contacting few of the architects, and then they suggested that this job can be done from the data engineer, right? And data engineer, what data engineer can do, data engineer can basically like, let me draw a diagram here. So what data engineer can do, so suppose like there are 10 different system. I'm not drawing all the 10 system, but I'm just giving an example. There are 10 system, for example. Okay. So there are 10 system, right? And what you want, you ideally want to collate the data from all the 10 system, right? From all the 10 system, you want to collate the data. Okay. And then what you want to do, you want to basically make a Power BI dashboard, or you want to basically understand the data. So you want a visual representation of your data. Visual presentation of the data. This is what you want, right? Now, as coming to this particular diagram, right, which I was written here. So suppose this is your source. Source can be 10 system. Right now, the source can be 10 system. Now, what you want to do, you want to extract the data, load it somewhere, right? Load it somewhere and then make a Power BI dashboard. So once you load it, you also need to, suppose you manually, when you're manually doing it, then also you need to join the data, combine the data. That is all you need to do, right? Similarly, like in the cloud as well, once you upload the data, you need to do all of those jobs. You need to combine the data, you need to join the data, you need to like aggregate the data, you need to basically create some sort of a outcome out of that data, right? So you need to basically make some transformation. So for transformation as well, you will do some transformation, right? And then you will basically load the data again, right? In the in the cloud. So you will do the extraction job, you will do the transformation job, you will load the data. So that is what you will do. And once you do that, you will hand over that data to a data analyst to basically get the data from there and then make a Power BI dashboard, right? So data analyst job is to data engineer job is to extract it, transform it, make it ready in the cloud. Not yeah. So suppose here, what data engineer will do? Data engineer. So suppose there are 10 systems, right? So data engineer will basically gather the data at one particular centralized place. For example, this is the extraction part. This is the extraction part. This is the extraction part. Extraction he will do, right? And once data is there in the centralized place, or there can be two places, right? We need to basically make some transformation on top of this data. And then once the transformation is done, he will kind of load the data to a dashboard or something like that, right? So he will load the data after that. Once the transformation is done, he will load the data. And once the loading is done, data engineer job is finished. He has finished that job, right? Now, visual representation of the data needs to be done. So data engineer will basically combine and then give it to data analyst. Data analyst will come take this data, make some beautiful visualization and all of that, right? So data engineer job is to do extraction, transformation, and load. This is what I am doing since my job has started. I am doing this, right? Now, fine. Now, what is the data engineer job? Data engineer job is for find out the right data for data analyst and data scientist, right? Develop a ETL pipeline, develop extract, transform, and load pipeline for to create a dashboard. Building and maintaining the data marts means he will maintain the data marts. He will create the data marts. Data marts as in joining of the data, combining, creating the modeling and all of that, right? Monitoring the data pipelines, addressing the failure and performance bottleneck. So suppose if there is a performance bottleneck in the overall pipeline, he will do that. He will make sure, suppose when the data is moved from the 10 system, if data is moved to somewhere else, there can be data quality issues as well, right? Suppose one particular guy, suppose Rohan hasn't uploaded the data for today, he uploaded data for yesterday. uh, he wanted, so this kind of a when we are creating the pipeline, when we are moving the data from one place to another, there can be the data quality issues, right? So he will make sure that data quality is good. He will maintain the data quality. He will optimize for the tool and the platform. So every for the pipeline to run, right, there can be optimization technique which can be applied, right? So he will do that. He will enhance the overall pipeline efficiency, right? So and then he will also maintain the data. So he will also make sure that right person. So suppose in an organization, in my organization, I am the owner, but there can be some sub owner, right there. So I don't want all the guys to access the data. So he will he will maintain the data governance and all of that. He will also ensure the data lineage is proper or not. He will document the overall process. That is what the data engineer will do on day-to-day basis. He will create pipeline, he will monitor the pipeline, he will make sure that data quality is good or not. He will do all of that, right? What data engineer will not do, data engineer will not deploy ML models. So he will not create the front end. He will not create a CI/CD pipeline. He will not uh, manage the infrastructure and the security of overall system. So suppose somebody says that, hey, can this particular person log into this particular credential? All of that data engineer will not do, right? So during our learning, whenever we are we don't need to go into deep into security, infrastructure, networking, all of that, right? If you want to learn that, it's your choice, but I will not go into those parts during the training. Why I will not go into those part during the training? Because in my experience, I haven't dealt with those kind of a thing. Now I am dealing right now, but as you're starting, you don't need to go into those things. Reason being, there are so many things to focus on, right? So suppose if you just open networking today, you can you can invest time over there, but we will focus on what is important first, and then we can focus on other things, right? So, but the overall agenda will be, we will be focusing on like creating a ETL pipeline, creating how we can monitor the ETL pipeline, how we can basically create a data quality things in the ETL pipeline. All of that we'll focus on. We'll focus on these things. Okay. All right, guys. So this is about the extract, transform, and load. And what is extract, load, transform, and so this is extract, load, and transform. So first you extracted data, loaded it somewhere, and then you done the transformation. You can also extract, like, so there are two things. Either you can do extract, transform, and load, or you can do extract, load, and transform, right? What is the difference between both? Suppose currently there are 10 people in the grocery store, right? What we decided, what we thought, so suppose here there is some sales data. There is sales 1, there is also sales 2 data, there is also sales 3 data. But I thought that when I'm moving over here, right? When I'm moving over here, so there are two things you can do. So you have sales 1 data, sales 2 data, sales 3 data. So when you are first moving the data, you can first do the extraction, means extraction of the data. Then you can transform, which means you can combine all the data, right? Combine all the data. Transform means combine all the data. So this is the transformation part. So so you will transform, means combine all the data, and then you will load. So while loading the data itself, you have done the transformation, right? So suppose I said when I want the data in the cloud, I want all the data to be combined. I don't want the data to be separated, right? So in that case, you will basically like you will combine it and then you will load it. In other place, what you will do, you will first load it and then you will combine it later on. So suppose here, then like suppose my first requirement is I want in the cloud combined data. I don't want separate data, right? Of suppose Rohan has grocery store and then he has a sales of suppose soap, and he has also sales of a Coca-Cola, cold drink, and all of that. So I told I want in the cloud all the combined data. I don't want separated data. So we will combine it and then we'll load it. So in the extraction tool, there is also option to come to transform it while movement. And suppose there is a second scenario in which I told that I want individual data as well in the cloud, right? Then you will first extract, load, and then you will transform, right? So in this case, you will first load. I'm just trying to explain everything in a very like a layman terms, right? As it is our first class, and I hope everything is clear, but we'll do a Q&A session so that if you have any question, you can ask. Extract, load, and then you can transform later on. Then you can transform and then you can combine. So data is already there in the cloud and then you can combine. Now, guys, anybody has any question related to this? What is data engineering? You can ask. But let's not ask any question beside this. So suppose like if you have any question, whatever I have explained, you can ask me question regarding this, okay, particularly. All right, guys, anybody has any question? 1 second, I will try to give you option so that you can unmute yourself. 1 second. Yeah, if you, yeah, I guess you guys can ask question. Yeah, guys, anybody has any question?
Yeah, yeah, hello.
Yes. Yes. Hi, Abhish. Yes.
Sir, I have a small question which I just occurred to my mind actually.
Mhm.
Yeah, while you're transferring the data or extracting the data engineer does the washing of the data or compiling or like means what they have been using, or this compiling and washing the data from its concurrences is of a different nature and a different person
Data
will take
engineer
care.
will do the washing of the data and then making it clean. Data engineer will do it.
Okay, okay,
Yeah,
okay. So this data is in a compiled form or in a raw form while
raw
transferring or
form.
while extracting.
Raw
Raw
form.
form.
Yes.
Okay, okay.
It depends on the requirement, but it can be there in the raw form and also in the compiled form. You can get it either of the format. So suppose it
And
depends on the requirement actually. Yes.
one last query actually. While the data is being extracted and put in a warehouse called data mining,
Mhm.
or somewhere else in a cloud storage, is it in a table format, or is it just the random rows and matrices?
It can be there in any of the formats. So suppose once it's mined and once it's prepared, it can be there in the tabular format. It can be there in the like a JSON format. It can suppose if you want to hit a API from there and then you want the data to be there in the JSON format, it can be there in that format. It can be there in the Parquet format. It can be there in the like your XML format. It depends on the requirement to requirement in which format the data you want for, like suppose currently we want to do the dashboarding, Power BI dashboarding. So for Power BI dashboarding, generally we want the data in a particular tabular format so that Power BI can read it and then transform it. But suppose if you have a requirement that you want to send the prepared data to a particular application, for example, then in that case you
Mhm.
need the data in the JSON format so that you can send it to a application. Now, suppose if you want to, like, it depends on the requirement, what is your end result? But here, if you have an end result as a Power BI thing, then you will prepare the data in the tabular format so that you can give it to data analyst.
Okay, so you invariably mean to say that the data analyst should be in a position to know that which form or which shape he wants the data, propagated to him, right?
Yeah, so data analyst will basically, so suppose if there is a requirement, for example, that I want this total sales, right? And I have given a requirement that I just want total sales, then there's no need of a data engineer, but sorry, data analyst. But like suppose if somebody says that I want a dashboard in which I want to understand total sales, but I want to also understand the drill down of it, like total sales by product, total sales by month and all of that, right? I want to understand the data in form of a visual outcome or in some sort of analysis form. Then data analyst job is to understand, from the name itself you can understand data analysis. So data analyst will help to analyze the data in a better way. So he will help in descriptive analytics of the data. Yeah, so this is what data analyst will do. Data scientist, data engineer job is to give the data to data analyst so that he can analyze the data. Data analyst will not clean the data. Data
Okay,
engineer will do it. Because from the name itself, you can understand data engineering means make the data ready for data analysts and data scientists so that they can do their job. Data analyst and data scientist job is to not clean the data, make it in the proper format. That is the job of a data engineer. Data analyst job is to create a descriptive analytics from that data. Data scientist job is to create a predictive analytics from the data, like predict the future from that data.
that means you mean to say the forecasting,
Yeah,
forecasting data.
forecasting or any sort of a future thing. Suppose if I want to understand what will be the sales tomorrow, what are the different products I can keep here so that sales is increase in the future. That kind of
Mhm.
a job for data scientist.
Okay, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah. Anybody has any other question, guys?
Hi, Abhishek. For extract, load, and transform, we're loading the data into the cloud after extraction. How about extract, transform, and load? So, in the transformation process, that will be happening in the cloud or in the on-premises before loading.
In the runtime, it will happen. While movement itself, it will happen. So data factory, which is our data orchestration tool, it will take the data from the not from the source. The transformation will not happen in the source. It will happen while movement of the data. So suppose data factory is moving the data for you. So data factory itself will use its computation power and then transform the data, then load it.
Okay,
In the
and in case
runtime, it
of
will happen.
ELT,
Yeah.
there would be two copies in the load environment. One would be without transformation, and it will go to downstream for transformation. Then again, it will be uploaded after
Yes.
transformation. So there would
Yes.
be two copies.
Yes. So you will create a staging layer in which you will keep the data, and then you will create a final layer in which you will keep the data after the transformation, either in the data lake. So there will be two layers for the same kind of a data. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, guys. Anybody has any other
Uh,
question?
yes, sir, just a small query. It happened to my mind actually.
Yeah, please.
Sir, for going down into this structure of Azure data engineering or data mining, is it necessary to have a pre-experience in the Informatica Power Center?
No.
Not required.
No.
Okay.
Anybody who is supposed from a marketing background or sales background can also learn this. I have taught many people from that background as well. So there is no prerequisite. I am teaching as if you don't have any technical expertise. This is how I will teach. So
Yeah,
yeah.
because, sir, it becomes imperative for a couple of people who may not be having the IT experience, but they have a collective experience of more than 18 years or 15 years or 12 years or whatever. So, in order to make a migration towards the data integration or data engineering, they have the prior experience, but not in the IT field. So, is it okay for them to have
Yeah,
this transition?
it's okay, but it just needs your time. Like the basic agenda is if you just like attend class daily, do homework daily, and then
Yes.
the people who has done it able to switch. Because when you are 18 years of experience, you need to devote time in learning, and if you do that, you can learn it.
Okay, and do we need to have a parallel system in operation like we do have this in the Informatica? We have the system integrated in our laptops or computers. Do we need to have something like that? It's
No. So
operational.
you everything will be there in the cloud. You
Mm,
just need to set up like some sort of suppose when you're migrating the data, right? So during the class, I will suggest you to either install MS SQL or a MySQL in your computer just for a reference. But you don't need any software to be installed in your system after that.
okay, okay, fine. So our local laptop or local computer will do the things, right?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, guys. Anybody has any other question?
Hi Abhijit, could you give me an example for ELT data flow?
ELT. This is what I was giving before, right? ELT itself I was giving. So suppose the example which I was
Generally,
talking
ETL
about.
means we will get some source data and we transform and we load it, right? So other thing is like, we extract, we load and then transform and we load, or two things does not happen, right? How we can transform and
Come again. What exactly your question is? Sorry.
so in ETL we do extract, transform and load, right? So then in ELT, we extract, we load, and how we transform there. In order to transform, and again, we need to load, right? So how that will work?
So suppose,
Like,
yeah, so just a small thing. So suppose, are you already like working in SQL guy, or you are not, you don't know what is SQL?
yeah, I'm already working in SQL.
Okay, fine. So I will give you an example. Um, suppose if you have like, and the guys who don't know SQL, just SQL is the relational database management system where you can store a tabular format data, simple. So suppose if you have like 10 data points in the source, like just like a grocery store example which I have given. So 10 data you have in the source. Now from the source you loaded the data to a SQL server. SQL server as in you loaded the data in the tabular format, like in SQL server you loaded the data. Once you loaded the data, what you want to do, you want to basically remove few of the columns from the data because there are like 300 columns, and then you don't need 300 columns. You want to remove all of the column, and then you want to join two data. Suppose sales data and customer data you want to join. So to do that, you need to write the transformation logic, right? And then you need to create a final table. So this is an example in which you need to extract, load first in the SQL server, then you will transform, by writing a SQL query. So this is what I have written here, SQL stored procedure for transformation. And after the transformation, somebody asked me that, hey, there is another copy. Yes, there is another copy because you write it again. That is why there will be another copy for that. And what is the example of extract transform and load, ETL, in which suppose I will give you example. Suppose if you have in the source, if you have the date in DD, so suppose if you have the date in this particular format, or just a simple example, right? So suppose like in the source, you have the data in IST time zone, right? And then suppose in here you have the data in IST time zone, you have the data in suppose a German time zone. If you have also the data in like some sort of like the data which is coming from Dubai as well. So you have the data in different time zone. But when you are moving the data to a particular place, you want all the data to be in UTC time zone, for example. Before the data comes into a cloud storage, you want that thing to happen. So in that case, what you will do, you will extract and then you will transform, then only you will load, because you want the data to be there in the same time zone format. I hope it's clear for you now.
Yeah, yes, thank you.
Any more question, guys? Anybody has any more question? All right, let's move ahead now. So what we will do now, right? So coming to this, if you look at this, and also if you look at this, you will find it similar. Okay, and also if you look at this, let me show you this as well. All right, if you look at this, all the three diagrams are similar. This and where is that? This and also this. All the three diagrams are similar. Let me tell you why it's similar. Okay. Here there is a source. This is blob storage. This is a cloud storage. So from the source, we loaded the data to the blob storage, which is suppose a cloud storage where you can store the data. So you have done the extraction part. Then you are doing some sort of a transformation in Databricks. Databricks is an engine which can transform data. So you're reading the data, transforming it, writing it back. Then you're moving the data to a SQL server again, right? From here, you're again moving the data, right? So this is extract. Once you extracted, transformation, and then again like a loading part over here, right? So SQL server. Similarly, if you go here, like if you just see, right, extraction. So here we are doing extraction, right? Extraction, loading it, extraction, loading it in here, right? Then transformation. Then here, if you see the transformation, right? And then here we are using SQL Server, right? So again, like I have written SQL Server over here itself, SQL Server, right? And then analysis Power BI, analysis Power BI, okay? Now, if you see this, and also if you see the diagram I was showing here, right? Here, this one. Give me a moment. All right. So here, extraction, load, transform. So if I show you this diagram, this is also same. Ingest using data pipeline, load it. So from here, we done the extraction, done some sort of a transformation in Apache Spark, loaded to SQL Server, made the Power BI. So this is the architecture. This is what the extract, transform, and load is, or extract, load, and transform is. This is the architecture which we will focus first. This is what we will focus first. We will learn this first, right? All right. Now, if I go over the course curriculum which I was sharing with you guys before. So if you see this, right, what I have written, migrating data from MS SQL. So currently during the course, we'll consider MS SQL as our source. MS SQL as in, we will try to install a MS SQL server in your computer or in each of the computer. And then we'll understand how to migrate the data from MS SQL, okay? So the guys who don't know MS SQL or the guys who wants to understand what is MS SQL, I suggest you to, like, suppose if you don't know any coding background, right? So from this particular course, we are also offering free my SQL course, right? So you can just enroll for it. You can get that particular course, right? So just contact guys from this Raj Informatica, and then they will give you the access for it, right? But the guys who don't know, try to install SQL Server, MS SQL Server on premise. And why we are installing it? What's the reason we are installing this? Because we need a source, right, to migrate the data. So either you can migrate data from your C drive, D drive, that also you can do, or you can migrate data from here. To get a real understanding during the class, what we will do, I will teach you how you can migrate data from your own computer, from your own MS SQL, or suppose how you can migrate. Suppose Amit says that, hey guys, all of you migrate data from my computer, from Amit's computer. So how you can do that? We'll learn that first, right? So it's very, very important that you guys install a MS SQL, MySQL on your computer. Either you can install MS SQL Server, or you can want, if you want, you can install a MySQL Server in your computer. MySQL Server. Okay, MS SQL, try to install MS SQL Server, like MS SQL Server or a MySQL Server, right? And how you can install it, either in the part of a like a SQL training which you buy, like there you will get this MS SQL Server probably for free, right? So they like free as in you will get a guidance how to install it, or like if you just Google it around, right, you'll get like MS SQL Server, how to install MS SQL Server. There's like many videos, install MS SQL Server. So yeah, just watch this video and then you can install, right? So you can do that, MS SQL Server, MySQL Server. And why we're installing it? Because we will use MS SQL Server and MySQL Server as our source, as the training source. And from the source, we will move and learn how to move the data to cloud. So suppose, as again, I will come to the groceries example, which I have given, right? So we will understand, suppose a guy who is there in the grocery store has a MS SQL Server, how he can migrate data from MS SQL Server to the cloud, or how a data engineer can do that, right? So we'll learn that. So first of all, it's very important we install a MS SQL Server in the computer, right? And then it's important that you have a data extraction tool, which is a data factory. So we'll understand how to create data factory, and then we'll understand how to use data factory to migrate from MS SQL Server to blob storage. A blob storage server is also a storage. Like suppose if you don't understand blob storage, it is a storage given by Microsoft. You can consider it as a drive or like S3 bucket and those kind of a storage. So first agenda during like 3-4 classes, we'll understand how to use data factory to migrate from this to this by using Azure Cloud. Okay, this is what we'll understand for coming classes. So this particular whole architecture has many pieces. So first we'll understand how to do this part, right? From source to blob using data factory. And for that, what we need a source. So for that, you need to install a MS SQL, MySQL Server in your computer, and then we'll make a cloud storage, which is blob storage. Then we'll create data factory. Then we'll understand how to migrate. Okay, this is the agenda. Anybody has any confusion on this, guys? Because this should be very, very clear. If you want to like, the agenda should be very, very clear. This is what we are learning and why we are learning. Why should be also clear, because we are a data engineer. We should understand about how to do the extraction part, because data engineer job is to do extract, transform, and load, or extract, load, and transform. And data extraction will be done by data factory. So to do that, first of all, we'll install it, then we'll make data factory, we'll create blob store, and then we'll migrate, right? So anybody has any confusion on this, guys?
Sir, just one small question actually. When you talk about the SQL as the data source, for example, does that equally mean that SQL is an interface between the data and the cloud, or SQL is itself a data storage source?
SQL is a language. You have a relational database system where you can store the data. SQL is just a language to query the data. So SQL, like you have a relational databases in which you can run a query to extract your data. So SQL is that.
And sir, when you are talking about this SQL becoming a source data, just for example, so does that invariably mean that the SQL can contain the data inside it or not?
Yeah, SQL will contain the data. So the database will contain the data inside it. SQL will not. So suppose if I'm saying SQL will contain the data, that statement is wrong. SQL will query the data. Database will contain the data.
Okay. Now it's clear. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry guys, I just used that sentence because like it's very commonly SQL, let's query the SQL, SQL is storage and all of that. It's very commonly used. So, but the right sentence is database will contain data, SQL will be used to query the data.
Yes, correct. Thank you.
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Abhishek. Yeah, yes.
Yes, sir. Basically, if the data is stored in any hardware or any then if we want to migrate it, then also the same system we have to use, or we
Same
can
system.
migrate directly to data factory.
Same system. So I am taking an example of a SQL storage, but the same concept will be applied to either C drive, D drive, SAP HANA, Dynamics 365, Oracle system, Snowflake. Or so
Okay.
guys, there is a background noise. Please mute yourself. So same system will be applied for each of the scenario, but I am taking a scenario of a MS SQL Server because it's easily understood. But you can apply same concept for everything. Okay.
Okay.
All right, guys. Now I think
Hi, Abhishek.
yeah, Rohan.
Actually, I already downloaded Oracle and SQL, SQL Server. Is that okay, or should I
Yeah, it's
download?
okay. It's okay. Any cloud storage, anything is fine. So the homework for the class is you need to install MS SQL or a MySQL in the computer. Install MS SQL or MySQL Server. And suppose if you have installed Oracle system, Snowflake system, if you say that Abhishek, I will not use this, I will use SAP HANA. I am completely fine. Whatever you guys want to use, right? I am completely okay. But suppose if you want suggestion what to install, then this is what you can install. But I am completely fine if you install anything because we learn the concept to move the data from anywhere, right? Now and after this, what's the homework for you guys is to like so just go through the course curriculum and then also learn about like create a Azure free subscription. I will anyways teach how to do that in the coming class, right? But suppose if you're just like want to see and then curious, right? If you will get many videos, you can just create a free subscription. Okay, just create a free subscription as Azure, right? And then process is very simple. You can just go to portal.azure.com, make your free account, create Azure free subscription. The process is very simple. And then if you're not able to do that, I will anyways teach that, right? In coming classes, no worry about it. Now, another question which you need to do is go to Azure Databricks fundamental, okay? Fundamental. And then click over here, Azure Databricks fundamental learning. Databricks fundamental. I will send you a link in the group and just go to the fundamental training, the Lakehouse fundamental, I guess this one. Yeah. So just go through this particular Lakehouse fundamental training. It's a short 4 videos, very useful, very good videos given by Databricks Academy. Just go through it, watch it, and then learn something about it, right? It will also give you the understanding about what is Lakehouse and all those things. So just go through this video. This is very helpful. All right, so these are the 3 homework which is very important for you guys to complete, and then please take the homework very sincerely, right? So in every class there will be the homework, there will be the assignment which is given to you. Suppose in the next class I will give you the assignment to move the data from your own system, right? That will be the assignment. So please go through all this homework, complete all the homework, and then we'll meet for the next class, right? So that's all for the today's class, guys. The recordings will be given to you, watch it, and then understand the agenda of the coming classes is, I guess, very clear. Complete this homework so that in the next class we learn how to migrate. That is what we learn. So right, so the agenda is very clear. So let's meet on the next class. Please complete the homework and then we'll meet on the next class. Thank you so much for joining the call. We'll meet in the next class now, right? So I think somebody will take over now, or let me check 1 second.
Yes, Abhishek, this is Karthik. I'll take over from you.
Okay, thank you, Karthik. So Karthik will take over now from here and I will be leaving the call. Thank you, Karthik. See you then. Bye, guys.
Yeah, thank you, Abhishek. So hello everyone. So we have your registration process is pending here. Okay, so